Yeah, and so at this time, when there are growing calls in the U.S. to escalate the proxy war in Ukraine, to give Ukraine F-16s and ATACMS and whatever else they're asking for, and at a time when U.S. officials are increasingly ramping up conflict with China, it would be wonderful if our elected progressives could be a voice of sanity and a voice calling for diplomacy. But let's look at what Bernie Sanders just did. He was on the BBC promoting his new book, and he was asked about Ukraine, and he basically said he's fully in lockstep with Joe Biden.
I'm glad you found this video because I heard some talk about it on Twitter and I wanted to see it for myself. So
should
here it is.
America send F-16s?
It's not an issue that I've been heavily involved in, but I support what the president is doing. I think what Putin did was outrageous, not only for the people of the Ukraine and all the destruction, not only for the thousands and tens of thousands of Russian soldiers who have been dying. We need a world now, if we're going to combat climate change, if we're going to combat future pandemics, we need a world to come together. And Putin has radically disrupted that, and that is a real tragedy.
What?
But I think at the end of the day, the United States, NATO cannot sit back and allow Putin's aggression to go unresponded to.
Putinist aggression. Well,
we need a world. We need a world to come together to combat climate change. But first, before we do that, we need the world to risk nuclear war so that we can prevent ethnic Russians inside Ukraine from having their cultural rights respected and having their whims respected in Crimea, where most of them want to be a part of Russia, not Ukraine. Before we cooperate on climate change, we need to risk nuclear war over who gets to rule Crimea and eastern parts of Ukraine, and also ensure that we have a proxy on Russia's border, even though every single rational top U.S. diplomat in recent memory has warned against how reckless that is. It's like Bernie Sanders has forgotten everything he used to say. He used to talk at least about NATO expansion, how that was provocative towards Russia. He wrote an op-ed, or at least he signed his name to an op-ed shortly before, or maybe early on in Russia's invasion, around that time, about how NATO expansion to Russia's borders was provocative. He's forgotten all that now. Now it's just, I'm not really following it. I'm not really involved in it, but I support what Biden's doing, and NATO and Russia need to stand up to, and NATO and U.S. need to stand up to Russia. And again, does he even know, does he even know, for example, that Russia put out diplomatic proposals before the invasion, like December 2021, these extensive draft treaties, very detailed, supporting many proposals that Bernie Sanders claims to support, such as arms control and rolling back NATO expansion. Does Bernie Sanders is he even aware of that? He says right there, I'm not very involved with this. So I'm not even sure if he knows that. Does he even know like what the Minsk Accords is and how that was reached in 2015 and the Ukrainian government, under the influence of powerful fascists, refused to implement it? And every time Poroshenko or Zelensky tried to do something towards implementing Minsk, there were far-right Nazis vowing to kill them and demonstrating and actually attacking police. Does he even know any of this? Because that's who he's in ideological lockstep with, are the far-right forces inside Ukraine who have sabotaged peace at every single turn and every opportunity to prevent this war.
Well, he answered the question. He said, "I'm not following this very closely."
It's not.
This really important. He's very concerned with the preoccupations of the kind of millennial NGO oriented left that spewed out of his 2020 campaign. He said, Putin is really making it harder for us to deal with climate change and the pandemic, to get like a global consensus on the pandemic. But so basically what is he saying? Putin, by invading Ukraine, is making it harder for the World Health Organization, whose third largest funder is Bill and Melinda Gates, to dictate to other countries what they should do in the event of a pandemic, which was disastrous. I mean, this is what he's up to. And no, I didn't find that image of Bernie Sanders at the inauguration of Biden, where he's wearing his mittens and sitting there kind of impassively and not really showing interest or excitement, as if that's the big retort to agreeing to lose, the big rebuke to Biden after you just rolled over and agreed to lose and killed the hope of all of your followers. And also, what are you doing wearing a mask outdoors? It's just weird.
So talking about, Putin's making it hard to deal with climate change. Did blowing up a gas pipeline and releasing a large amount of methane into the atmosphere, did that maybe make it difficult to deal with climate change? Because that's one of the worst environmental disasters I can think of in recent memory.
Largest release of methane into the atmosphere in history.
Yeah.
And
So
so this is Bernie, Bernie, who on the debate stage with Hillary Clinton could not challenge her on what I think would have been the most discrediting issue for her, especially from a foreign policy point of view, is Libya, because he supported it. He supports every R2P humanitarian intervention.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here's Bernie was actually friendly with the great Michael Parenti, the father of our friends Christian and Marcy Smith Parenti, who contribute to the Grayzone. Great piece by Christian.
He's not Marcy's father, obviously.
No, the father-in-law. Yeah. They're not related. They're not brother and sister. Sorry, it's been a long day for me already. But here's Michael Parenti on Bernie Sanders and Yugoslavia.
But then came the Yugoslav war, and Bernie sided with President William Clinton and supported the bombing of Yugoslavia, 78 days and nights, depleted uranium, which has left Serbia today with the highest cancer rate in all of Europe. I vigorously opposed that war and wrote a book about it called To Kill a Nation, the attack on Yugoslavia.
Great book.
Yeah. I said he's standing shoulder to shoulder with NATO and the CIA and the White House and Bill Clinton and these creepos for a war against these people like this. I said, and that's when I broke with him. I stopped sending contributions. I stopped. Furthermore, his salary was way bigger than what I was making. But then,
so I think that says it all. And, you know, since we're talking about someone who led the left grassroots in the US into 2 presidential campaigns, one in 2020 that I think was just filled with follies. I've come around to Michael Tracy's analysis of that. But 2016, there were some genuinely inspiring moments. And, you know, it's nice to see someone hit back against the corporate Democratic establishment, but that's all gone. Where will everyone go from here? I have some thoughts on that, but Aaron, what do you think? Where will those forces go, those grassroots forces in 2024?
I don't see anywhere for them to go right now. So something needs to be organized very quickly to give them a place to go, because where can they go? The only possible vector for anti-war sentiment would be, I hate to say this right now, it would be Donald Trump, because Trump just released a video in which now once again he's claiming to want to take on the neocons, forgetting of course that he appointed a cabinet of neocons and oversaw neocon policies. But if Trump is at least articulating an anti-neocon point of view, as he just really forcefully did in that video, where, you know, for all the voters out there who feel tired of these proxy wars, where else are they going to go but to Trump once again, if he makes it into the race? Certainly he'll make it into the Republican primary.
Well, Trump's message, his rant, his 9-minute rant against the Ukraine proxy war is his message going into the campaign. He understands where America and Americans are on this war.